Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Bobby Hams here with some of the movie news that I found to be of interest from this past week. To start off, Stranger Things was officially renewed for season 4 and the Duffer Brothers were signed on to a big multi-year film and series deal with Netflix. Now, no details of the agreement were provided, but because the show is such a global success, it's estimated that the deal may be something similar to the 5-year, 9-figure pact that Netflix signed with Game of Thrones destroyers David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. I swear to God, I have no faith whatsoever in those two, Benioff and Weiss. However, I have all the confidence in the world for the Duffer Brothers. The Duffer Brothers were able to create a massively popular series from scratch and keep it interesting, nostalgic, and exciting for 3 strong seasons so far. Benioff and Weiss, on the other hand, had all the source material in the world from a worldwide bestseller in their lap, and in the end, they couldn't tell a cohesive story. I mean, for years, okay, she was the breaker of chains, but all of a sudden, she's murdering thousands of innocents. Who the Elsewhere, in addition to competing with rivals Netflix and Amazon, new streaming services Apple Plus and Disney Plus, as well as other newcomers who want to reach outside of US borders, will have to comply with new European content quotas. The European Commission has a requirement that these distributors devote at least 30% of their catalog to local programming by the end of 2020. Netflix and Amazon are close to meeting the quotas, with Netflix's catalog at about 5,000 European titles and Amazon at around 3,000. Needless to say, Apple Plus and Disney Plus, HBO Max and so forth won't have nearly that amount of content when they launch in a few months. Additionally, in January, the French Senate is set to vote on a bill that will require streaming services to set aside at least 16% of their annual revenue in France for investment in local and European content. If that bill passes, those who don't comply will be shut down in France. Now, I know these requirements may sound like too much. However, I think the 30% content quota is a great way to trim the fat, as it were, of all the streaming services popping up everywhere. I'm editing a separate video about the streaming wars, but this rule will force these money-hungry companies to at least pause for a moment and rethink their deployment strategy. They can max out with the US subscribers, as Netflix, the #1 service by far, appears to have done. So they'll need the European market if they wish to continue to grow. I think Disney Plus is an especially good example of that because of how much money they plan to spend on their programming. It's been reported that the Marvel projects will have a budget comparable to the Marvel movies, $100 to $150 million. With each season containing between 6 and 8 episodes, that averages to around $12 and $25 million per episode. No matter how you look at it, that's hell of expensive. And that $100 million is for each project: Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, WandaVision, blah, blah, blah. $100 million for each. For comparison, all of the debut seasons of Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, combined had a budget of $200 million or $3.8 million per episode. And Game of Thrones' most expensive season, season 6, saw HBO spend $100 million for 10 episodes or $10 million per. I don't think it would make good business sense for Disney to throw all that money on these Marvel shows and then, not even try to meet the bar for entry into Europe, when Europeans contributed to more than $400 million, towards Avengers Endgame's box office. So they've got to invest millions into each Marvel episode, then create or purchase content to make their catalog reach that 30% of local programming. And knowing Disney, they'll most likely just buy whatever. And lastly, moving from a bloated company with no original material to a micro-budget passion project, it seems that sci-fi film Invasion Planet Earth will finally be distributed after 20 years in production. British editor Simon Cox began working on the script in the 90s. It was then titled Kaleidoscope Man, and spent a decade piecing it together with the initial intention of making the biggest British indie sci-fi movie ever. But reality had other ideas, and Cox ended up filling the role of director, co-writer, VFX supervisor, and producer over the 6 years it took to shoot the movie and the 2 years it was in post-production. Money to finance the project was crowdfunded. It was crowdsourced from 126 people, and they were in the film as extras and also credited as producers. So that's right, the movie has 126 producers. Invasion Planet Earth follows a UK couple as they try to survive an attack from an alien mothership. This is set in London. Lightbulb Film Distribution and Monroe Film Services have teamed up to release the film this December in the UK. Simon is now in his 50s, but you talk about perseverance, I hope it's a smashing success. So that's it for now. Let me know what you thought of these stories down below in the comments. Like and subscribe if you like to like and subscribe to things, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.